Benjamin discovered his unique gift as a child, an extraordinary ability to recall every detail of his life with perfect clarity. This ability, however, came with a strange twist. Through physical touch, he could transfer his memories into others, allowing them to see and feel what he experienced. What many saw as a blessing often felt like a curse to Benjamin. Every memory, whether joyful or traumatic, was etched into his mind forever, leaving no room for forgetting or peace. By the time he reached adulthood, Benjamin had resolved to use his powers for good. He became a police officer, quickly gaining a reputation for solving impossible cases. But his brash, impulsive nature and overconfidence often put him at odds with his colleagues. He believed his powers made him invincible, though deep down, the emotional toll of reliving victims' trauma started to wear on him. Meanwhile, Glenda had built a remarkable career as a criminal profiler. Known for her razor-sharp instincts and unyielding dedication, she had solved numerous high-profile cases. However, behind her professional demeanor lay a haunting past. Her younger sister had been abducted and was never found. This tragedy fueled Glenda's determination to bring justice to victims and their families. When a string of brutal murders rocked the city, Benjamin and Glenda were assigned to work together. From their very first meeting, sparks flew, not of attraction but of tension. Benjamin's headstrong approach clashed with Glenda's methodical and measured style. Still, they both recognized the gravity of the case and resolved to put their differences aside. The case involved a serial killer known as the Red Ribbon Killer, a cold and calculating murderer who left a blood-red ribbon tied to each victim's wrist. Benjamin and Glenda's investigation began with interviewing witnesses and examining crime scenes. While Benjamin's ability gave them a direct window into the victim's final moments, it also left him visibly shaken. Reliving the terror of their last breaths was a heavy burden. Glenda observed this vulnerability in Benjamin. Though she found his recklessness frustrating, she also recognized the emotional weight he carried. To help him cope, she suggested grounding techniques and encouraged him to share his feelings instead of bottling them up. As they delved deeper into the investigation, the duo uncovered a disturbing pattern. Each victim had some connection to a mysterious underground organization known as the Syndicate. The group appeared to operate in the shadows, pulling strings across the city's political and criminal underworld. The partnership between Benjamin and Glenda faced its first major test when an informant they were interrogating turned up dead. The suspect had revealed crucial information about the Syndicate's involvement, but was silenced before the police could act on it. Suspicion loomed within the department, with whispers of a mole feeding information to the enemy. Benjamin, already distrustful of others, grew more paranoid. He accused Glenda of withholding information, while she, in turn, criticized him for jumping to conclusions without solid evidence. Their argument escalated until a senior officer intervened, reminding them of their shared goal. Realizing they had let their personal frustrations get in the way, Benjamin and Glenda made a pact to trust each other. Glenda confided in Benjamin about her sister's abduction, revealing her deep-rooted fear of failing victims. In return, Benjamin admitted his struggles with the emotional toll of his abilities. This newfound understanding brought them closer, forming the foundation of their partnership. Their investigation took a breakthrough turn when they discovered a hidden message at the latest crime scene, a cipher written in blood. Glenda, with her expertise in profiling and cryptography, deciphered the message, which led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The warehouse turned out to be a trap. Inside, they found evidence of the Syndicate's operations, but were ambushed by armed men. Outnumbered and outgunned, Benjamin and Glenda barely escaped with their lives. During the chaos, Benjamin touched one of the attackers, glimpsing a memory of a high-ranking Syndicate member giving orders. Shaken but determined, they returned to the station to report their findings. The memory Benjamin had seen hinted at a much larger conspiracy. The Syndicate wasn't just targeting random victims. They were eliminating people who posed a threat to their secret experiments. This revelation marked a turning point in the investigation. Benjamin and Glenda realized they were up against a dangerous and well-organized enemy. With their trust in each other solidified, they vowed to bring the Syndicate to justice, no matter the cost. Benjamin and Glenda returned to the station with mounting frustration and fear after their close encounter at the warehouse. The Syndicate's web of influence stretched further than they anticipated, and the possibility of a mole within the police force loomed over their heads. With the evidence they gathered pointing toward a network of powerful and dangerous individuals, they realized they were no longer merely solving a murder case. They were unraveling a conspiracy. Despite the threats, Benjamin's determination burned brighter. He spent long nights analyzing the memories he had absorbed from the attacker at the warehouse. Each vision revealed fragments of the Syndicate's operations, secret labs, coded files, and an enigmatic leader referred to only as the Overseer. However, the memories also took a heavy toll on his mental state. Glenda, noticing his deteriorating condition, insisted that he rest, but Benjamin refused, driven by a deep-seated fear of failure. Glenda, understanding his resolve, offered to shoulder some of the burden. Together, they devised a plan to track down one of the scientists involved in the Syndicate's experiments, a man named Dr. Victor Lane. Dr. Lane was a reclusive figure with a dubious reputation, rumored to have disappeared years ago. Using her profiling skills, Glenda traced his movements and found a lead: a remote cabin deep in the woods where Lane had been hiding. The duo embarked on a dangerous journey, knowing they were likely walking into another trap. When they arrived at the cabin, they found Lane living in paranoia, surrounded by surveillance equipment and self-defense mechanisms. After a tense standoff, Glenda managed to convince Lane that they weren't with the Syndicate. The scientist, recognizing Benjamin's ability, reluctantly agreed to talk. Lane revealed that the Syndicate had been conducting illegal experiments to create memory manipulators, individuals who could alter or erase memories. Benjamin was a key target because his abilities were natural, not manufactured. The organization had been tracking him for years, waiting for the right moment to capture and exploit him. The scientist also divulged a chilling detail. Glenda's sister, who had been abducted years earlier, was one of the early test subjects. Lane confessed that he didn't know her fate, but his words reignited Glenda's grief and anger. Before Benjamin and Glenda could extract more information, the Syndicate struck. Armed operatives surrounded the cabin, cutting off their escape. Lane panicked, revealing he had a failsafe plan: a hidden passageway leading to a nearby river. As the operatives stormed the cabin, Benjamin, Glenda, and Lane fled through the passage. The narrow tunnels made it difficult for them to move quickly, and the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Glenda took charge, using her sharp instincts to navigate the maze-like passageways while Benjamin covered their rear. Emerging by the river, they thought they were safe, until gunfire erupted. In the chaos, Lane was fatally shot, leaving Benjamin and Glenda devastated. Lane's dying words were cryptic but vital: "Find Project Mnemosyne. It's the key to everything." Benjamin vowed to uncover the meaning of Lane's last words, but Glenda was left grappling with her emotions. The loss of Lane and the possibility that her sister might still be alive weighed heavily on her, fueling her determination to destroy the Syndicate once and for all. Back at the station, Benjamin and Glenda analyzed the limited data they had retrieved from Lane's cabin. They discovered that Project Mnemosyne was a top-secret program within the Syndicate aimed at mastering memory manipulation. The project's files were heavily encrypted, and decrypting them would take time. Meanwhile, the tension within the police department reached a boiling point. The mole within their ranks began sabotaging their investigation, leaking sensitive information and planting false leads. This betrayal placed Benjamin and Glenda under scrutiny from their superiors, who began to question their every move. Determined to expose the mole, Benjamin used his ability strategically, touching colleagues in secret to sift through their memories. While this invasive method strained his ethics, it eventually led him to an unexpected suspect: one of their trusted allies, Detective Ryan Porter. Confronting Porter proved to be one of the most challenging moments for Benjamin and Glenda. Ryan, once a mentor to Benjamin, confessed to being blackmailed by the Syndicate. His family had been threatened, forcing him to betray his team. Though conflicted, Benjamin and Glenda decided to keep Ryan's involvement a secret and use him as a double agent to feed false information to the Syndicate. With Ryan's reluctant cooperation, they set a trap to lure out one of the Syndicate's key operatives, hoping to finally gain the upper hand. With Detective Ryan Porter now acting as a double agent, Benjamin and Glenda walked a razor-thin line between trust and danger. Ryan's information led them to a critical Syndicate meeting point, a private club hidden beneath the guise of a high-end casino. The operation required careful planning, as any misstep could alert the Syndicate and put Ryan's life at risk. To infiltrate the club, Glenda went undercover as a wealthy investor with ties to black market deals. Benjamin, known for his impulsive nature, struggled to stay behind the scenes. Instead, he posed as her silent bodyguard, keeping close in case things went wrong. The atmosphere in the club was tense, filled with powerful figures who exuded danger. Their target was Marcus Kane, a high-ranking Syndicate operative and the one responsible for managing Project Mnemosyne's funding. Glenda used her profiling skills to engage Marcus in conversation, playing into his arrogance while discreetly extracting information. Meanwhile, Benjamin's sharp eyes scanned the room, committing faces and interactions to memory. The plan almost unraveled when Marcus, suspicious of Glenda's questions, demanded proof of her loyalty. He presented her with a horrifying test. She had to shoot a bound and gagged man, accused of betraying the Syndicate. Glenda hesitated, but Benjamin subtly intervened, signaling her to aim for the ropes instead of the man. With a precise shot, she freed the captive without appearing defiant, earning Marcus's grudging trust. The mission at the casino yielded a critical lead, a secured location housing the Mnemosyne files. Marcus unwittingly revealed the files were stored in a heavily fortified facility under constant surveillance. The duo knew they would need a brilliant plan to gain access. Back at the station, Glenda and Benjamin worked tirelessly to decode the partial data they had collected. The deeper they dug, the more horrifying the details became. Mnemosyne wasn't just about memory manipulation. It was a program designed to erase identities, create obedient operatives, and rewrite memories to control individuals. For Benjamin, the implications were deeply personal. He realized the Syndicate might have tampered with his own memories during his childhood, explaining the eerie gaps he couldn't account for. This revelation left him reeling, but Glenda was there to ground him. Her unwavering determination reminded him of their shared mission, stopping the Syndicate before they could unleash Mnemosyne on the world. Their next step was assembling a covert team of trusted allies within the police force. Knowing the mole's reach, they included only those who had proven their loyalty. Ryan Porter played a critical role, feeding the Syndicate false information about their movements while secretly providing Benjamin and Glenda with access codes and schematics for the facility. The operation to retrieve the Mnemosyne files was their most dangerous mission yet. The facility was located beneath a seemingly abandoned pharmaceutical lab, fortified with biometric security, armed guards, and motion detection systems. Glenda and Benjamin led the infiltration team, each member assigned a specific role. Glenda, with her strategic mind, coordinated the team's movements while Benjamin handled the most high-risk tasks. Using his ability, he touched captured guards to quickly gather intel about patrol routes and passwords. This method saved time but left him emotionally drained, as the memories he absorbed often included the guards' fear and pain. The team made it to the central server room, where the Mnemosyne files were stored. However, as they began downloading the data, an alarm was triggered. Syndicate reinforcements flooded the facility, cutting off their escape route. In the chaos, Glenda discovered a hidden section of the server containing experimental data. She realized this could include information about her sister's abduction. Torn between completing the mission and uncovering the truth, she made the split-second decision to access the hidden files, even as Syndicate operatives closed in. Glenda's gamble paid off. She found records of her sister's name listed among the test subjects in Project Mnemosyne. The files revealed that her sister had survived the initial experiments but had been relocated to an undisclosed location. Though the information was incomplete, it reignited Glenda's hope of finding her sister alive. Meanwhile, Benjamin fought valiantly to protect the team as they tried to extract the data. His memory-sharing ability became a weapon as he touched Syndicate operatives during hand-to-hand combat, flooding their minds with overwhelming memories of his own trauma, rendering them incapacitated. However, The strain of using his powers so intensely began to take a toll on his body. As the team prepared to escape, a final wave of reinforcements arrived, led by none other than Marcus Kane. Armed and unrelenting, Marcus confronted Benjamin and Glenda in a tense standoff. In a desperate move, Benjamin used his powers to force Marcus to relive his darkest memories, temporarily disabling him. The team managed to escape with the mnemosony files, but the cost was high. One of their trusted allies was killed during the mission, and Benjamin collapsed from exhaustion, his body pushed to its limits. Glenda, clutching the data and her newfound hope, vowed to protect Benjamin and finish what they had started. The team barely escaped the Syndicate facility, but the cost was devastating. The death of a trusted ally weighed heavily on Benjamin and Glenda, particularly as they realized the Syndicate was becoming increasingly ruthless. Benjamin, already drained from overusing his ability, lay unconscious for hours. Glenda sat beside him, replaying the mission in her mind, haunted by every decision that led to their losses. The mnemosony files they retrieved were a trove of dark secrets. Glenda worked tirelessly to decrypt the data, uncovering horrifying truths about the Syndicate's experiments. Victims had been subjected to memory erasure, personality reconstruction, and forced programming to become sleeper agents. Among the files were records of Glenda's sister, revealing she had been part of a secret Syndicate facility known as the Haven. Meanwhile, Benjamin awoke to find himself plagued by fragmented memories he couldn't distinguish as his own or those he had absorbed. His mental state grew fragile, and he began to question if the Syndicate had tampered with his mind. Glenda became his anchor, reminding him of their shared mission and vowing to protect him just as he had protected her. The decrypted files also revealed the existence of the Overseer, the Syndicate's shadowy leader. All operations, including Project Mnemosony, were under the Overseer's command. With no time to waste, Benjamin and Glenda resolved to locate the Haven and dismantle the Syndicate at its core. The location of the Haven remained elusive, hidden behind layers of false leads and encrypted data. Benjamin and Glenda sought help from a brilliant hacker named Iris, a former Syndicate operative turned rogue. Iris had her reasons for betraying the organization. Her brother had been one of their experiments, left a shell of his former self. Convincing Iris to join their cause wasn't easy. She was wary of trusting anyone, especially the police. However, when Glenda shared her story about her missing sister, Iris agreed to assist, moved by their shared pain. Using Iris's skills, they uncovered a lead. The Haven was hidden deep in the mountains, disguised as a research retreat. The Syndicate had fortified the location with cutting-edge technology and an army of operatives. This wouldn't be a simple infiltration, it would be a war. To prepare, Benjamin and Glenda assembled a team of trusted allies, including Detective Ryan Porter, who continued to act as their double agent. With time running out, Benjamin pushed himself harder than ever, determined to protect those he cared about. However, the strain of his abilities began to show, as he suffered from headaches and hallucinations of memories he couldn't escape. The mission to infiltrate the Haven began under the cover of darkness. The team split into two groups, one to disable the facility's security systems and the other to locate and rescue the victims. Benjamin and Glenda led the latter group, moving through the labyrinthine facility with a mix of stealth and brute force. As they advanced, Benjamin touched a captured guard, absorbing fragmented memories of the Haven's operations. He saw images of victims being strapped to machines, their memories wiped clean, and new ones implanted. The horrifying visions fueled his rage, making him more determined to end the Syndicate's reign. Glenda, meanwhile, focused on finding her sister. With Iris's guidance through their communication system, she navigated the facility's maze-like corridors, dodging Syndicate operatives at every turn. Eventually, she found a room labeled Archive. Inside were rows of files and holographic recordings detailing the victims' fates. Among them, she found her sister's file. The file revealed that her sister had been moved to a higher security section of the Haven. Overwhelmed with emotion, Glenda pressed on, even as the team faced mounting resistance. As Benjamin and Glenda pushed deeper into the Haven, they encountered a figure who stopped them in their tracks, the Overseer. Cloaked in an air of authority and menace, the Overseer revealed that he had been expecting them. The Overseer was no ordinary villain. He was a former psychologist turned manipulator who had pioneered memory-altering technology. He claimed that Benjamin was his greatest success, hinting that his abilities weren't entirely natural but the result of experiments conducted on him as a child. This revelation shook Benjamin to his core, leaving him unsure of his own identity. The confrontation turned violent as the Overseer activated the Haven's defenses. Automated turrets and waves of operatives attacked, forcing Benjamin and Glenda to fight for their lives. Despite the chaos, Glenda remained focused on finding her sister, refusing to let the Overseer's mind games distract her. In a final, desperate move, Benjamin used his ability to touch the Overseer, attempting to force him to relive his own memories. However, the Overseer had prepared for this. Instead of being incapacitated, he revealed memories of Benjamin's past, showing scenes of a young boy being subjected to Syndicate experiments. This emotional blow nearly broke Benjamin, but Glenda reminded him of who he had become, someone who fought for justice, no matter his origins. Together, they overpowered the Overseer, though he managed to escape in the chaos. As the team regrouped, Glenda finally found her sister in one of the high-security cells. Though physically unharmed, her sister was mentally fragile, her memories fragmented from the experiments. Glenda promised to help her recover, vowing to never let her out of her sight again. With the Haven in chaos, Benjamin, Glenda, and their team turned their focus to rescuing the remaining victims. The high-security facility was a labyrinth of cells, labs, and observation chambers, many containing individuals who had been subjected to unspeakable experiments. Glenda, after reuniting with her sister, stayed by her side while leading the team through the facility. Her sister, though disoriented, whispered fragments of memories that hinted at the Syndicate's plans, mentioning a Phase 2 of Project Mnemosyne. Meanwhile, Benjamin faced the task of extracting other victims. Among them were children and adults in various stages of memory manipulation. Some were unresponsive, others terrified, and a few were aggressive, their minds warped by Syndicate programming. Benjamin's ability became a lifeline as he absorbed fragments of their memories to understand their mental state, helping the team prioritize who could be moved safely. The Syndicate operatives fought to regain control of the facility, but Benjamin and Glenda's team, bolstered by Iris's remote hacking skills, managed to disable key defenses and secure a path to the surface. The mission, however, was far from over. There were still signs that the Overseer had left traps in place to delay them. As the team made their way to the exit, alarms blared, signaling the activation of a fail-safe protocol. The Syndicate had rigged the Haven to self-destruct, ensuring no evidence of their experiments would remain. Time became their greatest enemy. Glenda, torn between ensuring her sister's safety and helping others escape, handed her sister to a trusted ally and rejoined Benjamin to lead the remaining survivors. Benjamin, despite his physical and mental exhaustion, pushed himself to guide the team through collapsing corridors and dodging Syndicate ambushes. The Overseer, monitoring their progress through hidden surveillance, taunted them via intercom. He revealed that Phase 2 of Project Mnemosyne was already underway at another undisclosed location. His voice dripped with confidence, as though their victory at the Haven was meaningless. Iris worked feverishly to override the self-destruct system remotely, but the encryption proved too complex. She managed to buy them a few extra minutes, but it wasn't enough to completely disarm the countdown. Glenda and Benjamin knew they had to act quickly. In a desperate move, Benjamin absorbed the memories of one of the Syndicate's operatives they had captured earlier. The memories revealed an emergency escape tunnel leading out of the Haven. With no time to lose, Benjamin and Glenda rallied the survivors and led them to the tunnel. The escape was harrowing. The tunnels were narrow and dark, and the structure shook violently as the facility's self-destruction sequence neared completion. Syndicate operatives pursued them, determined to eliminate anyone who might expose their secrets. Benjamin, despite being at his breaking point, fought fiercely to hold off their attackers. His ability, though immensely powerful, became harder to control under such intense stress. He began experiencing hallucinations and disorientation, blurring the line between his memories and those he absorbed. Glenda, recognizing his struggle, stepped in to shield him, taking charge of the team's escape. Her leadership and resolve kept the survivors moving, even as the walls of the tunnel cracked and debris rained down. Just as they reached the exit, a final explosion rocked the facility, sending a wave of heat and smoke through the tunnel. Benjamin and Glenda barely managed to get everyone out before the tunnel collapsed behind them. Exhausted and battered, they emerged into the cold night air, grateful to have survived. The destruction of the Haven was both a victory and a sobering reminder of the Syndicate's power. The rescued survivors were taken to a secure location where medical teams and psychologists began the long process of helping them recover. Glenda stayed by her sister's side, offering comfort and vowing to rebuild the pieces of her shattered life. Benjamin, however, found no solace in their temporary win. The memories he had absorbed haunted him, and the Overseer's taunts about Phase 2 weighed heavily on his mind. He confided in Glenda about his fears, that his ability was becoming uncontrollable and that he might lose himself entirely. Despite his doubts, Glenda reassured him. She reminded him of the lives they had saved and the progress they had made. "You're not defined by what they did to you," she said. "You're defined by the choices you make now." Iris, who had been monitoring Syndicate communications, brought alarming news. The Overseer's Phase 2 was tied to a massive operation involving high-ranking officials, suggesting that the Syndicate's influence extended far beyond what they had imagined. This revelation confirmed their worst fears. Their fight was far from over. As the team regrouped, Benjamin and Glenda prepared for the next phase of their mission. They knew the Syndicate wouldn't rest until Project Mnemosyne's goals were achieved, and it was up to them to stop it. Though the road ahead seemed insurmountable, their resolve burned brighter than ever. The aftermath of the Haven's destruction left Benjamin, Glenda, and their team shaken but determined. Iris's discovery that Phase 2 of Project Mnemosyne involved high-ranking officials sent shockwaves through the group. It wasn't just an underground organization they were fighting. The Syndicate's influence reached into the government, law enforcement, and corporate sectors. Glenda worked tirelessly to help her sister regain fragments of her stolen memories. Her sister, while still fragile, recalled snippets of her time in the Haven. She mentioned cryptic phrases like the Nexus and cerebral rebirth, which pointed to new experiments far more invasive than memory alteration. Glenda became consumed with unraveling these clues, driven by the need to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Benjamin, on the other hand, was struggling. The memories he had absorbed from the Overseer's operatives continued to haunt him, blurring the boundaries between his identity and the personas of those he had touched. He withdrew from the group, isolating himself as he tried to regain control of his mind. Detective Ryan Porter, their double agent within law enforcement, brought urgent news. Several prominent officials were disappearing without a trace. These individuals had been vocal critics of the Syndicate's alleged activities, suggesting that Phase 2 had already begun. The team realized they needed to act fast to uncover the Syndicate's next move. Using the scattered information from survivors and the data retrieved from the Haven, Iris pinpointed a possible location tied to the Nexus. It was an abandoned corporate building repurposed as a front for Syndicate operations. Unlike the Haven, this facility wasn't designed for secrecy. It was heavily guarded, a fortress showcasing the Syndicate's growing boldness. The team devised a plan to infiltrate the building. Glenda took charge of the mission, her resolve bolstered by her sister's gradual recovery. Benjamin, though still grappling with his mental struggles, insisted on joining. "I need to do this," he told her, "for everyone we couldn't save." The infiltration was their most dangerous operation yet. Syndicate guards were armed with advanced weaponry, and the facility was riddled with traps designed to prevent unauthorized entry. Iris acted as their guide, hacking into security systems to create brief windows of opportunity. Inside the building, they discovered laboratories filled with cutting-edge technology. It became clear that the Nexus was the hub of Phase 2. The experiments here focused not only on memory manipulation, but also on implanting devices that allowed the Syndicate to control individuals remotely. The team found evidence of high-ranking officials being turned into puppets, their actions dictated by the Syndicate's will. In a chilling encounter, Benjamin and Glenda came face-to-face with a victim of Phase 2. The individual, once a respected politician, attacked them with unnerving precision, their movements controlled by an implanted device. Benjamin managed to subdue them, but the incident left the team shaken. It was clear the Syndicate's reach was far greater than they had feared. As the team delved deeper into the Syndicate's operations, they discovered a shocking betrayal. One of their allies, someone they had trusted implicitly, was revealed to be a Syndicate informant. The mole had been feeding information to the Overseer, compromising their missions and endangering their lives. The revelation came during a confrontation in the Nexus. Trapped by a Syndicate ambush, the team realized they had been led into a trap. It was only through Glenda's quick thinking and Iris's remote assistance that they managed to escape, but not before sustaining heavy losses. Back at their safe house, the group grappled with the betrayal. Benjamin, already struggling with his fractured sense of self, lashed out in anger, questioning how they could move forward when trust was so easily broken. Glenda, however, remained calm, her focus unwavering. "We can't let them divide us," she said. "That's exactly what they want." Despite the setback, the team resolved to continue their fight. They couldn't afford to let the Syndicate's tactics undermine their mission. Iris worked tirelessly to secure their communications and track the mole's activities, determined to prevent another ambush. The team's victory at the Nexus was short-lived. The Syndicate, angered by their interference, launched a counterstrike. The Overseer sent a message directly to Benjamin and Glenda, warning them to stop their pursuit or face dire consequences. The message included footage of the team's loved ones, indicating the Syndicate's ability to target them at will. For Benjamin, this threat hit particularly close to home. Memories of his own past, coupled with the Syndicate's ominous warning, left him more determined than ever to dismantle their operations. "They've taken enough from me," he told Glenda. "I won't let them take anything more." Glenda, meanwhile, focused on rallying their allies. She worked with Detective Porter to identify officials who might still be free from the Syndicate's influence, hoping to form a coalition against the organization. Her leadership inspired the team, even as the stakes grew higher. In the midst of their preparations, Iris discovered a critical piece of information. The Overseer was planning a public demonstration of Phase 2's capabilities. The event, disguised as a high-profile political summit, would showcase the Syndicate's ability to control individuals in positions of power. The team knew this was their chance to strike a decisive blow. They began planning an operation to disrupt the summit, expose the Syndicate's activities, and bring the Overseer to justice. The Syndicate's planned summit loomed large on the horizon, and Benjamin, Glenda, and their team had no time to waste. Using Iris's expertise in cyber surveillance, they uncovered the summit's location, a luxurious skyscraper owned by a corporation linked to the Syndicate. The event was disguised as a high-level political and business gathering meant to demonstrate the capabilities of Phase 2 in real time. Glenda worked closely with Detective Ryan Porter to build a coalition of uncorrupted officials willing to aid them in exposing the Syndicate's operations. Though few in number, these allies provided critical intelligence and resources. Meanwhile, Benjamin delved deeper into his abilities, learning to navigate the chaos of the memories he absorbed. He realized he could piece together fragmented information to locate vulnerabilities in the Syndicate's plan. The team devised a daring strategy. While Benjamin and Glenda infiltrated the summit disguised as attendees, Iris would remotely disable security systems to give them access to restricted areas. Porter and his allies would stage a diversion outside, drawing attention away from the infiltration team. The goal was twofold: expose the Syndicate's use of memory manipulation on influential figures and capture the Overseer. The summit was a spectacle of opulence, attended by prominent politicians, corporate leaders, and media personalities. Benjamin and Glenda blended in seamlessly, their disguises crafted with meticulous detail. Yet, beneath the glittering facade, the atmosphere was tense. Many attendees were under the Syndicate's control, their behavior unnervingly mechanical. As Glenda mingled with guests, she discreetly placed tracking devices to map out the building's interior. Meanwhile, Benjamin focused on locating the Overseer. His ability allowed him to subtly probe the memories of attendees, uncovering whispers of the Syndicate's deeper plans. Their mission took a dangerous turn when Glenda was confronted by a Syndicate operative who recognized her from the Haven. Thinking quickly, she feigned ignorance and managed to evade suspicion, but the encounter left her shaken. Benjamin, sensing her distress through their earpieces, reassured her. "We've come too far to turn back now," he said. In the summit's grand ballroom, the Syndicate unveiled Phase 2. A high-ranking politician, under the Syndicate's control, gave a chilling demonstration, issuing commands to a group of attendees who followed them without hesitation. The demonstration left the uninfluenced attendees horrified, while those under control remained disturbingly indifferent. As the demonstration unfolded, Iris detected an encrypted broadcast from the building. The Syndicate was transmitting Phase 2's capabilities to operatives worldwide. Benjamin and Glenda realized they needed to act immediately. Using the chaos of the demonstration, Benjamin and Glenda slipped away to locate the broadcast center. Along the way, they encountered heavily armed guards, forcing them into intense combat. Benjamin's ability became both a weapon and a burden as he absorbed fragmented memories from the guards, each piece adding to the overwhelming mental load he carried. In the broadcast center, they discovered the Overseer orchestrating the event. To their shock, the Overseer wasn't a singular figure but a collective, a group of individuals working in unison to lead the Syndicate. The realization that their enemy was not just one person but an ideology shook Benjamin and Glenda to their core. The Overseer's operatives taunted them, revealing that the summit was merely a test run for Phase 2. The true target was an international summit taking place in a week's time, where world leaders would unknowingly be subjected to the Syndicate's control. "You're too late to stop us," one of the operatives sneered. Fueled by determination, Glenda hacked into the broadcast system, using the Syndicate's own network to expose their actions to the world. Iris amplified the signal, ensuring that the footage reached public channels. As the Syndicate's secrets spilled into the open, panic erupted at the summit, with attendees scrambling to escape. The team's efforts to expose the Syndicate came at a steep cost. The Overseer activated a contingency plan, deploying a series of explosive devices throughout the building. Benjamin and Glenda had to navigate the collapsing structure while protecting innocent attendees caught in the chaos. Glenda managed to rescue a group of attendees trapped under debris, her unyielding courage inspiring those around her. Meanwhile, Benjamin faced off against a group of elite Syndicate operatives who attempted to eliminate him. Despite his exhaustion, he fought valiantly, his ability giving him an edge in combat. As the building crumbled around them, Iris coordinated their escape route, directing Porter's team to breach the lower levels and provide an exit. In a tense final confrontation, Benjamin and Glenda cornered one of the Overseer's key operatives. Under duress, the operative revealed critical details about the Syndicate's international summit plan. The team narrowly escaped the collapsing skyscraper, emerging into the chaos of the outside world. News outlets were already broadcasting the footage Glenda had leaked, and public outcry against the Syndicate began to grow. However, the Syndicate's influence remained strong, and the fight was far from over. Back at their safe house, the team regrouped to assess their next move. Though they had dealt a significant blow to the Syndicate, the realization that the organization was far larger and more insidious than they had imagined weighed heavily on them. "We won't stop," Benjamin vowed. "Not until they're finished for good." The Syndicate's international summit was just days away, and the team was racing against time to stop it. The information extracted from the Overseer's operative provided the summit's location: a heavily fortified compound in Geneva, disguised as an international peace conference. Leaders from across the globe would be in attendance, unaware they were walking into the Syndicate's trap. Glenda took the lead in planning their next move, her determination to protect the innocent fueling her tireless efforts. "This isn't just about stopping the Syndicate," she told the group. "It's about saving the world from their control." Meanwhile, Benjamin continued to refine his ability, mastering the chaotic flood of memories in his mind. He realized he could use the absorbed fragments not just for information, but also as tools to predict and counter the Syndicate's moves. Iris hacked into global networks to gather intelligence on the compound. She discovered it was equipped with cutting-edge surveillance systems and a private security force rivaling any military. Worse, the Syndicate had deployed Phase 2 devices on key personnel within the summit's organizing committee, ensuring complete control over the event. Detective Porter secured an emergency meeting with trusted allies in law enforcement and intelligence agencies. However, many were reluctant to act without concrete evidence, fearing political fallout. Frustrated but undeterred, Porter vowed to assist the team in any way he could, even if it meant risking his career. The team devised a bold plan to infiltrate the compound during the summit's opening ceremony. Glenda and Benjamin would pose as representatives of a fake NGO, while Iris remotely disabled the Syndicate's communication systems. The goal was clear: expose the Phase 2 devices, free the controlled leaders, and capture the Overseer. The day of the summit arrived. The team, disguised and armed with every tool at their disposal, infiltrated the compound. Benjamin and Glenda blended into the crowd, their movements synchronized as they navigated the labyrinthine halls of the facility. Iris, stationed in a hidden mobile unit, fed them real-time updates and disabled security systems with surgical precision. As the summit commenced, the Overseer appeared on stage, represented by a single spokesperson, an unervingly calm woman who introduced herself as Vera. She claimed to be a mere facilitator, but her words dripped with authority, and her presence commanded the room. Vera announced that the summit's goal was to usher in a new era of global harmony, a thinly veiled prelude to the Syndicate's plan for mass control. Glenda, using a covert scanner Iris had developed, identified several world leaders implanted with Phase 2 devices. She discreetly marked their locations while Benjamin positioned himself near Vera, ready to confront her when the moment arose. Suddenly, Iris detected an anomaly, a secondary network hidden within the compound systems. The Syndicate had anticipated interference and set up a backup communication line to launch Phase 2 remotely. Realizing their plans were compromised, Benjamin and Glenda split up. Glenda took the lead in disabling the backup network, navigating a maze of heavily guarded corridors. She encountered a Syndicate operative who recognized her and engaged in a brutal fight. Despite the odds, Glenda's resolve pushed her to victory. She accessed the backup network's core and uploaded a virus Iris had designed, crippling the system just moments before the Phase 2 launch. Meanwhile, Benjamin confronted Vera in the main hall. Their exchange was a battle of wits, with Vera taunting him about the burden of the memories he carried. "You think you're a hero," she said, "but you're just a vessel for the pain of others." Benjamin, however, remained steadfast. "I carry their pain so no one else has to," he retorted. The confrontation escalated into a physical altercation, with Vera revealing herself as a highly trained operative. Despite her skill, Benjamin's ability gave him the upper hand. He absorbed fragments of her memories, uncovering critical details about the Syndicate's leadership structure and hidden operations. With this knowledge, he managed to subdue her, delivering a powerful message to the remaining Syndicate operatives. Their time was up. As the summit descended into chaos, Glenda and Benjamin regrouped, their mission nearly complete. Together, they exposed the Syndicate's plans to the world, broadcasting footage of the Phase 2 devices and Vera's confession. The controlled leaders were freed, and the Syndicate's influence began to crumble. In the aftermath of the summit, the Syndicate was declared a global threat. Authorities worldwide launched investigations and arrests, dismantling the organization's networks piece by piece. Vera, though uncooperative, remained in custody, her memories a valuable resource for exposing the Syndicate's remnants. Glenda and Benjamin returned to their safe house, finally able to breathe after months of relentless fighting. Though the battle against the Syndicate wasn't over, they had delivered a critical blow. "This isn't the end," Benjamin said, gazing at the sunrise. "But it's a start." Glenda smiled, taking his hand, "And we'll face whatever comes next together." Their journey, though fraught with loss and sacrifice, became a beacon of hope. Together, they vowed to continue fighting for a world free from control and manipulation, knowing that their bond was the foundation of their strength. Benjamin and Glenda's struggle against the Syndicate became a symbol of resistance, proving that even the darkest shadows can be defeated by the light of courage and determination. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more delightful stories.